All right. Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Project Zero, where we hear about the journeys of some of the best project leaders in the industry. My name's Alex Tuck, and I'm the host. I'm here with expert project manager turned fractional CIO, Dr. Sheila Valante. Welcome to the podcast,
Hi.
Dr. Sheila.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear all your stories today.
Yes.
Sheila, so start us off, right? Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
yourself and what you're doing at Volante Solo right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, my name is Dr. Sheila Valante, and my hometown is from Los Angeles, California. I started off my career right after graduating at DeVry, working at the Ronald Reagan Hospital as in the construction field as a project manager. And I was put into it very quickly as a master scheduler. From there, the last 22 years, I've helped rescued and recover organizations from project failures for about 12 different industries in 3 countries, and I've recovered about a good 50 million in revenue.
Ooh, love that. Love to hear saving money, right? Everyone thinks
Yeah,
about project management as like a cost center, but it's the opposite.
right.
You can
It is
recover some
absolutely
serious
the
cash.
opposite. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yes,
I love
yes.
that. So tell me a little bit about Reagan, or even if it happened before Reagan Hospital, like how did it start? How did you know you were going to be a project manager?
I knew I was gonna be a project manager when I was going through the courses at DeVry. And the reason being is that DeVry, I thought I was gonna be in sales and marketing, right? I really like to talk to people, things of that nature. But I saw a woman I was helping her out, I was working as a student, and I asked her, what does she do? Because she had a nice fancy car. Come to find out, she said, "I'm in project management." And I said, "Okay." So I went the next day, went in and changed my field, and it felt like glue. It was amazing. Learning about systems. I think I really fell in love with project management while I was a student at DeVry. And the reason why I mentioned the Ronald Reagan Hospital during that time is because this was a pivotal area where project management was needed the best. And this is around the time period where systems weren't as affluent in the industry. So I came in at the right period of time to help and support.
Interesting. What do you transition from? Like what were you doing before project
Oh,
management?
I was a special program consultant or project consultant. I'm sorry,
Okay.
coordinator. It was just literally pushing paper to actually managing master schedules for construction timelines. So that was a major jump for sure.
Interesting. Do you
Um,
think that yeah, how do you I know you personally, right, Dr.
yeah.
Sheila, so I can tell, like, you have the personality for it, but what kind of did you have were you doing anything, like, either in high school or something like that, that made you say, like,
Y
"Oh, yeah, like, I'm really organized, I wanna be a project manager."
You know what? Being the first child and the oldest child, right? It's inevitable that I had younger siblings, so keeping them in order, keeping priorities, my mother did weigh on me to be responsible at that point, and I think that the makeup was already within me, right, of understanding timelines, making sure things are moving, and I didn't correlate that to project management until I got in the field. It was like, I've been I've been groomed my whole life to be a project manager. It sounds cliche, but it's true. And I think it's the part of leadership that's carried me in my childhood. It really blend into my career as well.
Yeah, that's I feel the same way, I'm a first child too. I
Yeah.
like order, like
Mhm.
guiding the
Yeah.
whole team, so I feel you on that, Dr.
Absolutely.
Sheila. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Alright, now it's for the fun part.
So,
Tell us about your
okay.
project zero. What was that project that you figured stuff out, you broke stuff, whatever it is, right? Like, where'd you learn to be a project manager most? What was that first one?
I learned to be a project manager for a huge telecom company that essentially required more than just the technology. It required critical thinking. It required being efficient with more reporting, more thought leadership, as well as understanding resource personalities. That was an aha moment for me. And I knew it was more than just a framework at that time. So when you're in college, you're getting, oh, PMBOK, or Scrum, right? You're getting kind of introduced into these frameworks, but it wasn't, it was that was only half the pie. And so working on that project zero really made me realize this is more than what I was went to school for, right? It required a lot of my personality. It required a lot of failure points. It required a lot of lessons learned. And I think that was the second year of me being a project manager. And by the way, it was not junior, it was full blown project manager because at that time, SAP was huge in the market and I had project server experience. So it was a big fight in the market, but you needed to have these key points to understand how PMOs are driven. So going back to the project zero and what happened and why did my projects didn't go so well, it was because I wasn't really looking at how the framework of people and how that all correlated together. The engineer has to do this before this can do that. Okay, great. You know, this is how a C-suite level executive thinks, but this one doesn't think that way. But they're both sponsors on this project. These, I would say, aha moments really craft me, and I'm very happy to be able. The project didn't fail, by the way. It was a lot of mistakes. It was a lot harder for me to manage a project because I didn't have those skill sets as of yet, but I'm glad that I went through that experience because it made me who I am today.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Is there one big failure or turnaround that happened during
It
that project that really stands out for you?
it did.
Mhm,
Reporting,
mhm.
because they were doing so much to get everyone's, "Hey, the governance and reporting," and that's still relevant today, right? It's like hurling cats. Are you 0, 25, 50, 75, or 100% complete? Can you do this every Thursday by 5 o'clock? Thank you. To do that, that was the most difficult point. So, how did I overcome that? I started to build relationships with people and asking them, "Hey, what can I do to convince you or to motivate you to report progress for this engagement on time? What can I do to help and support you?" I use those words. It was so inviting. It was very foreign. It was foreign to people. Like, you're actually being nice to me? Yeah, because we work together, right? You're just not a resource on the block. And, from that, that's where it started to drive and hone in like, okay, you have to treat people well. And if you do that, they'll bend over backwards for you.
That's awesome. I love that. And I know like you really gravitated towards change management. I know you're now in the
Yes.
CIO world, which is perfect for you. But you were transitioning even away from like the project management, the minutia of project management and moving into change
Right.
management. When you think
Mhm.
back on that project, was there like a key stakeholder that like you figured out like this is the person that I need to help me like push this thing forward? Was there someone there?
Absolutely. It was a few people that could have been better champions. It wasn't HR. It was like a chief marketing officer that could have helped it out better because we were optimizing their entire operation. So if operations is good, marketing's gonna look better, right? So that was one. And I think the last one, if I recall, it was an IT person. It was in compliance. I do forget about that, but I knew that if I can leverage them as change agents, it was gonna make my life a lot better, right? So back then, I wish that there was more change management as a standard or as a needed, right? But it wasn't. Project managers are required to be also the change agents, and it just doesn't work that way. There needs to be a team to help and support and advocate for these new things that are coming down the pipeline.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have all the responsibility and none of the power, right?
That part. No, no, we just become influential, right? So and that's another part, if you don't mind, as a second part of that, this is where PMs become advisors to a point, right? And it's kinda common or funny that they say we're just kind of the pass-throughers, but we're really not. If we're seeing an issue, we're seeing a problem, our job is to ensure that we minimize that risk as much as possible, right? We need all the tools that's necessary in order for us to thrive on the subjective that's been handed to us. So there's are times where we need to be advisors to our business stakeholders in order for them to understand the value of what's going on. Why is it going to be somewhat disruptive, but the value that we provide to them at the end of the day?
100%. Yeah, I think that's the biggest overlooked skill that like no one thinks
Yeah.
about for a project manager is
Agree.
that ability to bring like industry expertise or like tool
Mhm.
expertise into a situation. Like you work in manufacturing now a
Yes.
lot. And
Yeah.
so it's like you have this experience of like, all right, seeing this aerospace project fail or you had to turn it around a certain way or you needed a certain stakeholder. You have that experience where I would never have a
Right.
clue to
Ag-
like point something out or bring in some engineer that I wouldn't have even thought of unless I had that
Correct.
industry expertise. So
Agreed. And I think industry expertise really needed in today's evolution of transformation, hands down.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially like with AI coming into the market. now.
Mhm.
Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I told my
Mhm.
whole team, I mean, all we do is project management, right, Dr. Sheila? So, like, I mean,
Yeah.
probably 75-80% of our entire work, like pulling
Mhm.
together slide decks and like identifying tasks that need to be done by so and so, that all can be done by tools, right? And so now
Mhm.
we have to
Mhm.
be more valuable, right? Like, so that's where we can focus on being guiders or experts in a particular industry. So love
I
that. Love
agree.
that point, Dr. Sheila. Cool. So thinking a little more broadly, right, outside of your project
Mhm.
zero, but still, leaning on that a little bit, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
what what do you think the number one skill is for a project manager? If you had to pick
Mhm.
one, like what's the big one that you think people should work on and why?
The biggest one is critical thinking because not all situations, we don't have all the answers. However, if we think outside the box, we have resources that can help us and support us getting to that journey. And the reason why I am smart, even with the PhD, but I'm not that smart because I don't know everything, right? So I need to have the critical thinking and point to say, what's going to be the best of return, of course, for me to drive this project successfully. And project managers that only reference to a standard is not doing project management right. They have to, in my perspective, in my career, you have to critically think and say, how do we get this done? What are my pitfalls that I know I'm going to come into? And how do I actually work not around it, but how do I get through it, allowing my entire team to come in the threshold to be there with me? And everyone's looking at me for trust. That's the second word, Alex, I'm going to add in there. As a project manager, you have to buy in with trust, right? They're trusting you with this engagement to bring it forward. How do you do that? You got to build relationships with people. So that's the third thing. I know you said one, but I would have
Yeah.
to say those are my top three.
Yeah, I love this. I love those 3. I think those are always in my top lists for sure when I think about
Yeah.
what project managers are gonna join our team, and when
Mhm,
clients
mhm.
ask me, like, how do you
Yeah.
find a good project manager? What skill do you need to upskill? I love those.
Yeah. I and this is a just to kinda go a little bit more deeper is challenging even the stakeholder, right? The executive sponsor sometimes of unrealistic expectations or deadlines. It's okay. Conflict is not always bad. Sometimes it helps prevent problems of that executive sponsor by them looking not okay when it's warranted, right? There's been many of times where certain KPIs on objectives cannot be completed because something else needs to be done. For a project manager to stay and stand behind business and bring the results, bring the facts, and bring some guidance to the executive sponsor, I think that there's sometimes project managers don't speak up in rooms because they feel like they're not either heard or validated. I would say out there to that project manager that's in this era, as long as you have your receipts and you feel comfortable, always go with your gut feeling and challenge your leadership at times.
Yeah, I love that, and I think something I hear a lot is, be curious, right? Like,
Yes.
you can always you're not playing dumb. You're really just trying to figure out, like, why can't we achieve this goal, or why can't we do these things, or just asking that why is so important for project
It
managers. It's something that I see junior project managers don't do it at all, right? Because they don't wanna seem
they
dumb, they
don't.
wanna seem confident and all this stuff,
Right,
right? But, like,
right.
honestly, the most confident person in the room is gonna ask why all the time.
Agreed. Every
Yeah,
time, every time. And if they're
same.
not asking all the whys, that means there's something wrong, meaning they're probably not comfortable or they're just getting through. I think that's another reason why projects fail is because they didn't ask the question the first time.
That's right.
Mhm.
Cool. So this is a fun one. I like to ask this to all my guests.
Yeah.
How do you define success in a project today? And has that
Mhm.
changed over time?
Oh, that has changed over time. I define success in a project when the business stakeholder is enjoying exactly what they received. That is what success looks like. It's not how much money I saved, how much time I saved. If your business stakeholder is receiving it and they're enjoying it and it brings joy to their heart, that's when you know a project is successful. That's just for me. In the past, it used to be time, quality,
Yeah, all the
scope,
things. The
money,
triangle,
all those
right?
things, right? But as PMs, usually our customer is the internal 9 times out of 10, right? And it's we're transforming the business stakeholders, whatever that might be, their process, their day to day. So If they are genuinely loving that and supporting that, then down the line, they'll build in more confidence in the PMO and the IT organizations, or they won't be so scared of the changes that might come out in the future. So essentially, that is what success looks like for me.
There's that change manager. I know, Dr. Sheila.
Yeah, yes,
You're
I
like,
know.
all right,
It
in the
comes out every
future,
time.
in the future, if you want to do another transformation, you got to make the business stakeholders happy this time.
Gotta make
Yeah.
them happy, man. And that
Love
doesn't
it.
mean give them everything, but,
No,
if that experience is good as I go through it, right, it's gonna just over time, they'll be more receptive to IT projects, yeah.
love it. Love it. All right. So you started as a
Yeah.
coordinator, moved into a master scheduler, right? Earlier in your career. What
Yeah.
happened after that? How did your career progress? Right. This is really for those listeners out there that, are maybe
Yeah.
early, middle in their career. Now you're a consultant, right? So help them think about that.
Yeah. You're right, I only had 3 full-time corporate jobs in my life. They've always been smaller pocket project engagements, right? So, that created how did I know about 12 different industries in 3 different countries, right? And so back in 2020 when the pandemic was around, I was X years old, and I said, "Okay, what do I wanna do with my life? I don't wanna do this anymore," right? And so I decided to say and this time I started to do change agency. The reason is I started to see my projects not as good as it just wasn't feeling right. So I was like, "Why is it not?" And this is where I started to evolve with the people, process, technology concept because I was like, yes, it's the people. The people need to support the change. That's why there wasn't so much excitement when I would deploy my X amount project, right? And so I got into change management and I got into I created a change practice. In 2020, I decided, you know what? I really want to inspire, teach this new thing that's going on. I started to see there's something new in the ether. And I decided to enroll in strategy and innovation for my PhD. So I want to change the status quo of the industry. Industry 4.0. What is that? It's our next industrial age. It's the most change of any industrial age we've had before because of next gen products such as robotics, things of that nature. So 5 years ago, I had that thought. Now I have my PhD. And going forward from here, I'm a strategist. I now have not only the experience, and just to keep in mind, PhDs are just not scientists that are stuck in a university. We have work experience. We have not only theory, but we also have the backing, right? Which makes us more critical to a lot of these leaders out here as advisors to support them through their journeys. And yeah, so now I'm a fractional CIO and I help and support those C suite leaders think outside the box. And I think that all of that project management experience really molded me to be the role that I am here today.
I love that. Yeah, and I've seen you in action. There's project management's constantly coming out, right? Like
Yes.
throughout all your engagements. It's still that basis is still taking you here
Yeah, it
in your
is.
current role. Do you have any 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you would give to
Mm.
folks that are at the beginning of their careers in project management? Some big things they should
Yes,
tackle?
I know this is controversial, but do not go run for your PMP. Hear me out. Okay. A plunger is only good if you have a toilet. And I say that to say that I know that there's new things they're saying, go get your certification first. First and foremost, you need at least 5 years experience and 2,000 hours even to get your PMP. However, I would say it's don't get caught up in the fluff. Just go with learning how to understand one area, one lane, understand people, understand a technology stack, and start to really build your relationship through networking. You never know when you're going to need an app developer. You never know if you're going to need a marketer, right, to help and support areas within your engagement. I think that from my experience from PM, it's important to not get caught up with frameworks because they're there just as a reference. It's best to go with your intuition and help build, design, and grow with your teams time after time with whatever team that you have. And the last thing is build the relationships with people. They follow you throughout your entire career. Okay. You never know when you're going to meet that person back. I still today talk to my mentor who molded me of who I am today. And I just talked with him yesterday. He was very proud. Relationships last a long time, and you may see that resource again in your life, in your career.
I love that. Dr. Sheila, you're gonna get me in trouble with PMI. I'm trying to get people PDUs and
Oh,
all this stuff. I'm just kidding. You should see like my highest performing post ever was how I let my PMP lapse on purpose so that I would
yeah.
stop doing the work and focus on my company. But that's a
Yes.
story for another day.
That's another story. Okay. I was like, "Oh," I didn't say the institution. I just saw the certification. And it's true though. I mean, not everyone who has a PMP are not valid. That's not our intent. However, it's just it seems like these project managers are so consumed within this PMBOK philosophy and just like, tell me who has actually deployed a project from end to end on PMBOK, page for page. And if they did, I need to see the proof, which is it's not true.
Yeah,
It's there to just help guide you, right? And so going back to the initial question, is critical thinking. How do you apply this tool to your current state? And that needs to be, you know, that needs to be considered on any engagement that you're on.
for sure. And I mean, honestly, I remember taking the PMP and saying, "Oh my god, I'm failing this thing." And I knew it. I'd been run projects forever, and like I'd studied that
Yes.
thing end to
Y-
end, and I was like, "Man, I'm failing this thing." And I got above average on everything, and I was like, "Oh, all right,
Yeah.
cool, good." But to your point, right, Dr.
Mhm.
Sheila, it's it's a tool, right? It's a framework that you can pull from it, you cannot pull from it, and
Mhm.
as long as
Mhm.
you don't take it as gospel, right? Like,
Right.
as the only way to do it,
Correct.
I think the PMBOK can give you a lot of value, right?
I agree. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, I think this is what I want all the listeners to hear is like, look, like not every single most projects you don't need the whole toolkit. You probably
You
need like
don't.
5 pieces of the toolkit,
Yeah.
right? That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You don't need a lot. I always tell a fellow like, "Hey, there's Prince 2." We don't even hear
Yeah.
that out here,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
Prince 2, there's Agile, there's Scrum, there's some other stuff that's out there, but and there might be a mix of 2, right? It's kinda like you said, just take a few out there, create your own of what you think that's gonna be efficient and a standardization for your engagement. I know we don't have enough time talking about why PMOs are important to structure it properly for governance and to help to support the project managers through those different times. But you're absolutely right. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what happens with the merger with Agile Alliance because I think that that was sort of the missing piece with the PMI,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I think that collaboration I think is going to be really helpful for the organization as a whole. So I'm excited to see what
Yep.
happens.
Yeah, we'll see if ProSci comes around as well
Yeah,
because
exactly,
that's an
right?
extra
Yeah,
layer. I don't know what the is it 7? I think I left at 4 or 3 edition of
yeah,
PMBOK, but they need the people layer, right? That also
yeah,
helps out. Hopefully they can add that if they're listening. Need to add the
yeah.
people layer, maybe the ProSci to that those
Love
chapter
it,
books.
love it. All right, speed round.
Yeah,
Um,
let's do it.
all right, so I'm gonna run down a few things. If you watched the
Okay.
pod earlier, then you'll know what's coming. But I'll give you a couple of options. You can pick one of those
Mhm.
options. Tell me
Okay.
why, or you can be like, none of these make sense, right? All right.
Okay.
This is in relation to project management. Slack, email, text, or phone call.
Slack,
All right, love it. Agile or waterfall.
agile, 1000%.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speed or perfection.
Speed.
Ooh, I like it. All right. Favorite PM tool.
MS Project Regular.
Oh, wow, Dr.
Best
Sheila, you're my
version.
first. You're my
Eh,
first. That's the OG right there.
I'm a OG classic. Give me my PERT analysis, my KPIs, and also, yeah,
There's nothing out there that can do all those
that they
things.
can do that. Yeah.
Not even resource management. Yeah, all that stuff. Cool. All right. What's the worst one out there?
Monday.
Oh. All right.
Monday.com, sorry.
Yes. Yes. Get the .com. You gotta get the dot. All right. Certifications. Yes or no? You sort of answered this already, but certifications, yes or no? Do they add value?
Maybe. I'm thinking maybe. Yes, they can add value.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. All right. How do they add value for the PM?
No, they do not. They
Maybe to get
do
a
not.
job, right? Like that's about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
get the job to tick the box, but no. Mm-mm. Not at
good
all.
deal.
I don't think
Good
so.
deal.
Mm.
All right, awesome. Love that. Thank you. Speed
Okay.
round's always fun. All right. If you could give advice to yourself
Mhm.
early in your PM career, what would it be now? Younger Sheila, what does she need to hear?
Gonna make me cry, man, because
Uh-huh.
younger Sheila should have gave herself a little bit more grace and that everything's not a fire. If she would have slept more, maybe went out to that movie or went out and had a good time, that work will be there tomorrow. Learn, fall fast, learn fast, move forward. That's what I would have
Love it.
told my earlier self. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some good advice. Those 100-hour weeks weren't worth it, were they, Dr. Sheila?
They weren't, man. I would look up, I said, "It's dark again." Like, "Why? Why?" Yes, so now at my age, I like stopping stuff and, I can handle that next week. So, to me, your time of your life is valuable. I mean, the company's gonna get things done, but don't waste your life always working. Find some time to have self-reflection. You actually perform better when you actually give yourself the time to relax and rebuild than you are always stressed out and, very tired.
Love it. Love it. Great advice. I love that, Dr. Sheila. All right.
Thank you.
This is your secret question. You knew some of the other ones that were, but this one's a secret one. All right. And this is the fun one. All right. If you could run one project or program,
Mhm,
it already
mhm,
happened in the past, it's in history, right?
mm, mhm,
What would
mhm.
you do and why?
Project that I was on and why, if
No,
I
no,
could
no.
do it
This is like
differently.
anything in the entire world, any project that's ever been done before, like something you could fix, something you could be a part of. We're thinking bigger than just your
Somebody's about
experience.
to laugh right now. The United States government is a project I would love to run. The United no, I would say, this is a good question. If I had the chance to run a project, it would be to improve the infrastructure of the federal government. Yeah. I would like that engagement, very much so.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah, we all know
And
there can
yeah,
always be
think
process
yeah,
improvements there.
always process improvement there. I think that we have a chance to actually make if we're gonna get to the next industrial age, our government also has to be in line. So that's the thought process behind my decision, and I think that there's a lot of work for that to happen. So it would be the most challenging for sure.
Yeah, and frankly, there's still a lot of opportunity here, so it could be project 2.0 here, Dr. Sheila.
2.0, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Dr. Sheila for government. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Cool. Alright. Well, I think that's good. How should
Yeah.
people connect with you? What's the best way?
Absolutely. There's 2 ways. One is my website. It's volantesolo.com, VOLANTESOLO.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Just type in Dr. Sheila Valante. It's kinda crazy. I'm the only one out there in the ether with that whole name in the world. And you'll find me on LinkedIn, and I'll be looking forward to chatting with you.
Awesome. Sounds great. Alright. I think it's
Thank
a
you.
wrap. Thank
All
you so
right,
much for
awesome.
joining
Thank you
me,
for
Dr.
having me.
Sheila.
This is
It
so
was
much
so
fun. Thank you
fun.
so much.
Yeah, same here, same here. All right, and thanks to everyone else who joined us on Project Zero this week. Be sure to subscribe to Project Zero wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks again, Dr.
Awesome.
Sheila.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Appreciate you.